If I was working on a design such as this, I might want to put a symbol for, let's say, some cordyline or some rather spiky columnar plants in this raised planter box that's going along this wall here. And let's imagine that I search through the symbols that are supplied with gCADPlus and can't find a symbol that matches what I'm after. And it is possible, of course, to design your own symbols and to capture those and put them into the blocks library in gCADPlus and then use them in subsequent drawing sessions. So let's run through the mechanism or the way you would actually do that. The majority of gCADPlus symbols have a circle drawn on a layer construction and a little cross in the center of that circle to indicate the position of the plant. The reason for that is that you can turn off all the more elaborate symbols and just see a circle and a marker. So what I'll do to start with is turn on that construction layer, and now you can see the square, the circle and the little cross in the middle. So let's draw. We'll switch away from a layer called Shrub Graphic to a layer called Plant Construction, and we'll draw a circle, center radius, and we'll pop it in here, move out to somewhere like that, and set a radius of maybe 200 and enter. So we now have a circle, if we look over here, of diameter 400 and a radius of 200 that sits there, and that might work well enough as a symbol for us. We need to put a little cross in the center, so I'll turn ortho on, pick the line command, and just draw a little vertical line and a horizontal line running something like that, and exit, finish from there, and we've got our marker. Let's make sure that everything is on the correct layer, and it is. So now it's time to draw our symbol. We'll swing to the plant symbol layer. What we're trying to do is to create a symbol that matches the way in which the majority of gCADPlus symbols are drawn, so that we can then use them in the same way as, so they work consistently together. So we're now on the plant symbol layer, and what we want to do is draw a more elaborate symbol. So I'm going to use polyline. So draw a polyline. I'll draw from the center of the circle, which may not be precisely where the cross is. I'll take ortho off, and I'll come maybe halfway across and then taper it just slightly and move back and then close. So we'll close it and fill it. So there's a sort of spiky symbol. We won't need to smooth it or whatever. Now I can select rotate, and for the center, rotate just around the base point of that new polyline we've just drawn. If I right click, I'll say with copy, and so I can pop the symbol in. Now if I select both of them and rotate again, I can do the same thing and rotate. And try and avoid too regular. That's looking a little bit too regular from my point of view, although those two are a bit closer together. But what we might do is just pick, say, 4 or 5 of them now, rotate, and move those around, and our symbol's certainly taking shape rather well. So let's grab all of those and rotate and pop those up in there. We then could use the mirror command and mirror these down rather than the rotate. The mirror line will be something like that. Whoops, I forgot to put the override on. So mirror, here, right click and with copy, which is what we're after, and there we are. I'm relatively happy with that as a symbol. What I can now do is to turn off the construction layer and just look at the symbol. So it's working reasonably well. if we're going to follow the system that we've used for many of the other symbols, I have a layer here, which is this. If we edit this block here, let's go into edit block. I have an internal layer, which is, a symbol on a layer called shrub graphic that's internal. So the next thing, I'll close that block. So what I'd quite like to do is to set a color for all of these entities that we have here now. So let's grab them all. So let's set a color. We won't bother controlling color by the layer because we want to pick a color that works for us. So we'll say select color. You can pick true color and say select true color. For something like a quarter line or whatever, we might want quite a dark green. So let's choose one of these solid colors. We won't add it to the custom colors, and OK it, and OK there. Now let's unselect all, and there's a symbol for us that we can work with, I think. In making some of these newer symbols, we're taking advantage of the layering system that's available to us in gCADPlus. And what I've done is offset the polyline that indicated the leaf, and then changed the offsetted polyline, if that's a verb, to a different layer with a different color. Let's have a look at the effect first. So we'll go into layout space, and you can see the effect. It tries to give a sort of more 3D view. We've done the same with the tall shrubs and the tall trees rather, and the medium shrubs. So I'm picking up just that same little light cyan color. So if we come back here, what we're going to do is to use the modify and use the offset command. I'm then going to pick the polyline and come in quite close to the polyline and just offset it. And if I then select that new polyline, you can see it's slightly thicker than the original. And what I'm going to do is to move it onto the shrub graphic layer, and we'll exit from there and escape. Now you can see we haven't got the effect that you see on the adjacent one, but if I pick that one and the tools and send it to the back, tools, draw order, send to the back, that should have put the symbol at the back. So what have I done wrong? If I select it, that's the internal one. This is the external one. Maybe, of course, we didn't change its color to by layer. Now it's changed to by layer, and we better get it on its correct layer, which is the shrub graphic layer, and now we've got the effect that I want. So I'm going to work my way along now and put this little offset to all of those so that my symbol gives me the sort of standout look that I'm after. What I'm then going to do is to put that into the gCADPlus library so I can use it in other sessions. Well, I've completed the symbol. I'll just test it out in that layout space again, and I'm quite pleased with that. The two colors give me quite a nice effect, and I'm happy with it. So I'd like to use this symbol again in other gCADPlus sessions. So the first thing I'll do is turn on the construction layer so I can see my new symbol. I'm not going to turn it into a block just yet, although I could. What I'm interested in doing now, though, is to grab all of these. So I select them, all the entities that make up what's going to become the new symbol. I'll right-click, copy to the clipboard, come up here and say File and New, and I'll start a brand new drawing without a template. Right-click and paste from the clipboard and pop the symbol down. So I'll zoom extents. It's always good practice to actually, you have to regen at this point. That's something we need to fix after a copy and paste. We need to regen to refresh the screen. If we select everything here, we're going to move all of those entities to, or as a base point, the center of that circle to 0, 0. And now I'll zoom extents. That means that whenever we import this block into a new drawing, it'll be anchored at that center point. The next thing I'll do is turn off the plant construction layer, and finally File and Save As, and put it in a folder, a location where you can retrieve it later. I'll save it and call it C plant for compound plant number 5, and I'll click Save. The next step is to copy that new plant symbol and put it into the Blocks, Plants and Standard folder in the My Documents folder, so I'll paste it in. It's telling me the file is already open, which is very true, it is. So I'll go back here and close. Do we want to save our changes? Sorry, I'm closing the wrong one. Let me go back here. Should be okay. I can save that one. Maybe we'll make absolutely sure. And now switch back to try again, and in it goes. So we now have, in fact, 5 little symbols that I've been working on, which now sit in that folder. The next step is to start gCADPlus again and just see if those 5 plants that I've been working on, including this last one, are in the library. Well, here's a new gCADPlus session. I'll go File and New. We'll pick one of these other templates because we encourage you to use templates, and we'd take elements from the right hand side of the template and create our new drawing on the left. But what we're interested in seeing is under Library, if we go to Plants and Standard, and here we are, our new symbols that we've been working on are all showing in the preview window, and we can bring them into the design. So I can say open, insert this symbol into the drawing, and in it should come in as quite a small symbol, and it does. So I'm happy that I can now make symbols in one drawing and then move them onto the clipboard, save the drawing as a block, being a bit careful about things like the center point of the symbol being set at 0, 0, and paying attention to my layer configuration, and that new symbol is available for all subsequent sessions. So we would hope that if you make these symbols according to these guidelines, that you'd be willing to share with us and with others some of the symbols that you make.